Alright,
Okay. This is probably going to be the most chaotic episode we've had.
Dude, impression time? Impression time? Question
No,
mark?
I don't have any impressions.
Brooklyn
There's
accent.
no one-
Do a Brooklyn accent.
I don't know what. I can't do Brooklyn. I could do.
Hey guys, I'm Miles Morales. I'm from Brooklyn. I'm Spider-Man, and so today
Dude,
we
you should do a Jason Schwartzman impression. I would love that. Jason Schwartzman.
Alright, hey guys, I'm Jason Schwartz. I'm Jason.
Yo, that's good!
I don't know how he talks.
Let's get one clean one without Peter interrupting. I'm letting you go for it. Let's hear sleep-deprived Aidan do Brooklyn.
What's up, guys? It's Miles Morales. I'm from Brooklyn, and today you're watching Predator vs. Movies. I'm Aidan.
I'm Peter.
And I'm Alex.
What's next? What do you say next?
And this is the
this
podcast.
is-
This is a podcast where we discuss and review the latest movie releases. We start off with a non-spoiler review before diving deep into a discussion of the film, and then we ask the most important question: would this movie be better if the alien from Predator was in it? This week we will be reviewing Across the Spider-Verse.
You just stopped being from Brooklyn. You just started dying. Miles Morales from Brooklyn just started dying in front of me, dying in my arms. Thank you, Aidan, for taking over the intro. I was not brave enough to tackle the Brooklyn accent. But before we get into our review, we have some news, some movie-related news. So first off, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson has crawled his way back into the Fast and the Furious franchise. He's
Awesome.
He's kissed and made up with Vin Diesel, whom he was previously beefing with, and he is getting his own spin-off again. He had it, and then
but it's not
decided
not a sequel to Hobbs and Shaw.
It's not a sequel. It's not a sequel to Hobbs and Shaw. It's Hobbs without Shaw. It's Hobbs sans Shaw. It's Hobbs and Hobbs, or as I like to put it, Hobbs and the guy, whoever Ryan Reynolds was playing in the post-credit scenes of that movie. Because apparently, actually this became news very quickly afterwards. There was like a report that Ryan Reynolds and Kevin Hart are likely to join the film, who are like his usual collaborators. So this is not going to be any good. it's all I can say.
That's going to be bad. That has potentially the worst movie ever made, I'd say.
It has that energy to it. Peter, what do you think? Didn't we watch Hobbs? I remember watching Hobbs and Shaw. Were you there?
Yeah, I
when we
remember
watched
watching
it?
Hobbs and Shaw. I actually liked Hobbs and Shaw. Like, I thought it was pretty funny in theaters. But like, my takeaway from this is apparently, like, the way they broke the news is because The Rock showed up during Fast X or some shit, and then he, like, I saw this video on Twitter where it's like, you guys really liked my cameo in Fast X, so we're bringing him back, baby. Hobbs is back. Like, you know, Rock doing like one of these selfie videos. Oh, like, I was just like, yo, dude, there's no way, man. Like, the Fast and Furious franchise is finally gonna end, and then we still have the spin-offs carrying it on.
Do you know who they should bring into the Fast and Furious franchise?
Who?
Ludacris.
He is in it, no?
that's the joke, Peter. Actually, they should bring in Eminem.
Dude, he's all the rap.
And then you should make an original song.
Wait,
Shut up and drive.
Fast and Furious, I'm madly curious.
Wait. He's not in it, right?
No.
Okay, good.
It was an actual,
Oh my
mine
God.
was an actual suggestion. No,
Okay.
Elon Musk.
That would be
should join the Fast and
hilarious.
Furious.
That'd be so funny if
E-car.
Eminem.
Dude, it's just a bunch of
Fast and
cyber trucks. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That would be so funny.
This kind of got derailed. I had a question, but I don't remember what it was. Oh no. Okay, so yeah, to add on to what Peter was saying, Hobbs does appear in the post credits of Fast and
Oh, it's
Furious.
the
and
post credits. Okay.
Yeah, and they spoiled it in advance of the movie because they were hoping to get fans. Kind of like another movie starring The Rock that recently did not so well. And also, the failure of Black Adam is pretty clearly why he kind of got on his knees and begged, I imagine,
oh, yeah.
for his job back, you know, from Vin Diesel. Yeah. Anyways, we have some Tom Cruise news. Peter, who's got the news, the Tom Cruise news? What do you want to tell us about?
Oh my god, I think this is hilarious. So, we all know there's gonna be a killer weekend in July this year. Barbie and Oppenheimer dropping on the same day. And obviously, like, they're all very high budget, premium format movies that's gonna probably take over the IMAX screens for the theaters. But Tom Cruise is really angry about this. You know, Tom Cruise, big supporter of movies. We're going to the movies. Go to the movie theaters.
Yeah.
But he also Tenet, remember he was very big on.
Oh Tenet. Yeah, he was. He recorded a video about it and everything. But he's pissed because that means Mission Impossible doesn't get any IMAX screens. I thought they actually spaced out the releases so Mission Impossible won't conflict. But I guess the schedule does overlap.
I'll just clarify. It's Mission Impossible comes out 1 week prior to Barbenheimer weekend. So they'll only have 1 week of IMAX screens before Barbenheimer takes over most of them, I imagine.
He's got the Tom Cruise blues.
All. Nice. But yeah, he is quite pissed, and apparently he's like showing exhibitors like Cineplex, like the companies, like to like beg them to show more Mission Impossible screens. But it's funny because I heard on Twitter that that date was chosen after Barbenheimer. Like Barbenheimer chose their date and then Mission Impossible came in afterwards. So it's kind of like maybe you should have thought about this. I don't know.
To be honest though, if there's one of those three out of those three movies, the one I'd want to see in IMAX would be Mission Impossible.
Really? I thought it would be Oppenheimer for sure. Because it's
I think
actually
Oppenheimer's
filmed
filmed
in IMAX.
in IMAX.
Yeah.
Seems like that would be the one for me. I think has to be seen in, but I think second would be Mission Impossible.
No, I'd go Mission Impossible.
I do agree. Like I think fair enough. I do think that Mission Impossible will probably be the better movie. That's my prediction.
Oh really? Oh.
I think
out of the three,
I think so.
No way.
It'll be close. I don't know. I
think I'm gonna love it.
The Mission Impossible franchise.
So do I.
Don't like over Nolan, who has just kind of been like film bro.
Dude, Nolan's
kind of
made
content. It
one
seems more mature for sure. No, but like
I've been thinking about the Dark Knight trilogy recently, and those are good movies, man. Those are very, very good. Like that's such a clever take on superheroes. I think people discredit that a lot, actually.
Dude, and Interstellar is fucking amazing. Dunkirk, like my commentary on this was just gonna be like they're literally suffering from success because like we have too many good movies in July, so they're all so stacked across 2 weeks from each other. But you know. Hope they get their situation resolved soon. Probably going to see all three, so it doesn't matter.
Sure, yeah. I honestly don't care. That seems like that's a rich people problem, I think. So, but anyways, in other celebrity news, Scorsese visited the Pope, and he came back from that meeting and declared, and I quote, "I have responded to the Pope's appeal to artists in the only way I know how. By imagining and writing a screenplay for a film about Jesus."
Yeah.
Question: did he not do this already?
Is that not what Silence is?
I thought. Okay, tell me I'm crazy, but who did?
Am I crazy?
Am I crazy? Nope, I'm not crazy. The Last Temptation of Christ. Director Martin Scorsese. That is a movie he has made.
Oh yeah,
and
yeah.
I feel like when people are talking about this, I'm like, did no one remember that that's a movie that exists? He's done this already. He's made a film explicitly about Jesus, like textually about Jesus, already. So I don't know why he's. It's very funny for the Pope to be like, we need a movie about Jesus, and his response wasn't, have you seen the last one I did? I don't know. It's weird. We did watch a new movie, though, and Aidan is going to tell us a little bit about it.
Oh, fuck, I sure am, right. Yep.
I'm so ready.
Across the Spider-Verse is directed by Joaquim Dos Santos, Kemp Powers, and Justin K. Thompson. It was written by Phil Lord, Chris Miller, and David Callahan. It stars Shamik Moore, Haley Steinfeld, Brian Tyree Henry, Luna Lauren Velez, Jake Johnson, Jason Schwartzman, Issa Rae, Karan Soni, Daniel Kaluuya, Mahershala Ali, and Oscar Isaac. The runtime is about 2 hours and 2-0. I don't know what that means.
I think that's
budget
20.
$100 million.
I like he just ran over 2-0 and just couldn't even wager a guess as to what that might have been a typo for. The O and the 0, I will point out, are like directly next to each other.
It's
on the keyboard.
lowercase.
Oh my god.
No, I'm saying it's a typo. I'm not saying I did it on purpose. Anyways.
Oh my
Did you see
God.
the Did you see the PR kind of videos of Shamik Moore and Haley Steinfeld, and he's kind of like,
I saw the
playfully,
commentary
like-
on that, but I did not actually see the video.
oh,
Wait,
it's
what
so
did they say?
bad. It's so bad. Like he's trying to flirt with Haley, and she's like shutting him down hard.
There's no way, bro. Well, like
No,
one
you
one
would love
takeaway
it.
is like Miles is so slick in the movie, but like I just can't accept Shamik as like this like little bit timid and also like introverted person judging from the interviews. I don't know.
I don't know about that.
I feel
but,
like it's just really shocking. I thought like they would line up more because like the Miles energy from the movie is just like fun, quirky, but
And
you
you-
know, whatever. Yeah.
And you think he's a Shamik Boar?
What's that?
You think he's a Shamik Boar?
Wait, is his
Okay.
last name Boar?
Jesus Christ.
Wait, I don't get it. I don't get
Martin
it.
Scorsese's Jesus Christ. Let's move on from this. We have a game called Predacritic where we look at the scores on Metacritic. Oh my god. Metacritic is a website on the internet where critics' scores of a movie are tabulated out of 100, they're averaged. If it gets 60 or above, it's green. If it's 80 or above, it's labeled a must-see. If it's around 60 to 45, it's yellow. And if it's 45 or below, it's red. We are going to guess where Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse lands in that metric, the Metacritic metric, that is. I have a wheel of names, and I'm going to spin it to... No, fuck. I fucked up, guys. I fucked up so bad. I didn't add anybody's names, and it just had Aidan's from last week, and so the name Aidan just spun around for no reason. And I've just wasted all of our time.
Aiden's
so
going first,
sorry.
man. The
Yeah,
wheel
I
has
did.
decided.
Well, it's decided. Okay, I'm spinning again. Spinning
Dude,
again.
it's gonna be Aiden, 100%.
I believe in democracy. I'm gonna make this. No, it's
I
actually
believe
Peter.
in
Peter's
destiny.
gonna go first.
What the? Okay.
What?
I think this one should be easy. I'm gonna go with a 85.
Forgot to spin again. 85.
What?
He's guessed
What the-
85.
Is that too high for you, Aiden?
No, I don't know. I don't know anymore, man. I don't know.
Okay, I'm going next.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's a little high.
Okay.
I'm going next. You said 85. That's a good point. Is it too high? Or is it
it's
too
a little
low?
high.
Dude, that is the question, eh?
I don't think it's too low.
I'll go with an
I don't
84.
think it's super high. Fuck.
go with an
yeah,
82.
let me play
Dude,
the
that
fucking
is
game.
so
So
lame,
Aiden-
man.
I'm going to 83.
You guys are
Sandwiched.
so lame.
I'm safe. And in fact, it was not high enough. It has an 86.
Oh, fuck.
On Metacritic. Peter wins.
Man.
Oh my
Loses,
god!
which
Suck
means we're
him,
gonna get
losers!
the
Dude, imagine
sleep-deprived
doubting.
synopsis.
Imagine doubting Lord and Miller, bro. Imagine doubting
What
them.
the heck? What the heck?
Oh,
I,
my
honestly,
God.
86 sounds about right. I think that's a fair score. But Peter,
You guys took such
you-
an L. Holy shit.
Calm down. I guessed one
Dude,
below
it's so
you.
easy. You can go two directions. You can either go lower than me or higher than me. You go higher than me, you win. And you guys pick lower. So you guys took an L. Take that. You know? Oh my
Aiden's
god.
actually
Okay, but
suffering sad boy hours right now.
I'm actually really sad.
So Peter, as the winner of the Metacritic game, the Predacritic game, you get to give us your non-spoiler reaction. What did you think about this movie?
okay, so I was very excited about this movie. I was really upset when it got delayed. And it finally came out. And honestly, I gotta say, when the first trailer came out, it didn't look that good. like the first teaser where it's just Gwen teleporting to Miles' dimension and like them jumping through a bunch of portals. I thought it was like, okay, this looks really strange and like I have no idea what they're trying to do. But then as the trailers came out, my confidence with the movie grew, and eventually I saw the movie yesterday, and my God, I thought they can't top the first one. Like genuinely, guys, I think this is better than the OG Spider-Verse. We'll get into it, of course. I think both visually and in terms of sound, it's, if not like on the same level, it's either an upgrade or on the same level. It's definitely maintained that bar. And also the plot is so interesting, and it just kept it just kept going up. Like the tension kept rising and rising, and in the end, oh my God, like guys, the ending is terrible. I really hated the ending, but in a good way.
Oh, okay.
like I was like, yo, like when I was in the theater, I was like, around the 2-hour mark, I was not checking my watch because I want to capture as much information on the screen as possible. So my eyes glued to the screen. But I was like this movie's gonna end soon. Like, how the fuck are they gonna wrap this up? Like, I was genuinely scared the movie's gonna end. And that emotion stuck with me for like 10 minutes straight. I was like, okay, it's still not ending. They might actually wrap this up properly now. And then the movie ended. So
Did you not know it was a two-parter? They were very public.
I know
about
it's a two-parter, but I thought like this
cliffhanger.
one, I thought this one would have like a. I wasn't like, I read one of the friends of the show named Ryan. He left his review, and I read his review, and he described it like Doom Part 1. I was just like, oh shit, they're not gonna pull like that type of like, I'm gonna cut the plot in half and then do first half in
exactly what
across and then second part in Beyond Spider-Verse. I wasn't expecting them to do that, but of course they did that. So
That's basically what happened.
yeah. But like still,
I will
like,
say I forgot it was a two-parter. I think I did know
like,
that at some
I
point,
didn't
but
know.
I was not aware of that watching it.
Yeah, so like that was probably like the only part that really like disappointed me. I was like, can I watch the second part like today, like tomorrow? like they left it off at a very interesting point though. Like definitely a great cliffhanger to prepare you for the second one. And what else can I say about this movie? Oh, opening night, just gonna give a shout out to the kids in my theater, man. Like they were so loud before the movie started. I was genuinely scared. I was like, yo, like if you guys don't shut the fuck up during the movie. But like they were really quiet in the movie, and it was a good viewing experience, even though there were a lot of kids. And also,
Shout out to them kids.
yeah, shout out to the kids, man. Like good on you. Good manners. And also, the movie was extremely quiet in my theater. For there was like a monologue bit in the beginning. It was really quiet.
Yeah.
But then like somehow it got fixed over time. I was little scared at the beginning too. I was like, dude, if it's just this quiet throughout the movie, like I hope like the volume isn't the one thing that ruins a good movie. But thankfully it didn't happen,
I also found that like specifically Gwen's dialogue was consistently very quiet.
Yeah.
Like just like as soon as Miles came in, I was like, oh, I can hear him. Yeah.
I think like Lord and Miller tweeted on Twitter saying like there was like a reference volume thing. Like they need to ask the theater people to turn it to a 7.5. You can't hear it at like the regular 7 level, but I don't know.
No, I've heard that because of the Twitter thing as well, that this is a system-wide problem, that most theaters are not playing it loud enough. I think it's the worst in the beginning with the monologue, Gwen's monologue, but I do think that the movie
it comes up again for me.
I think it's quiet the whole time, and there's louder parts of it, and I think it's just an issue of like they have a threshold where they found the loudest part of the movie and they said that needs to be below a certain decibel, but that means the quieter moments become so quiet that we're like, what are you saying? So yeah, I really need to rewatch this at home where I can I need full control of the volume. I play my movies loud, so yeah, that was about it.
Yeah, but I'm gonna wrap this up because we want to get to the juicy bits, the spoiler bits. 5 out of 5. I think it's the best movie of the year I've seen for me. It's probably the best Spider-Man film I've seen as well, and really excited for the third one.
Cool. And I'm imagining you would recommend this to a friend.
Oh yeah, absolutely. This is a movie for everybody, not just kids. I think anybody at any age would get great enjoyment out of this.
Cool. Aidan, I have to know, what were you laughing at so hysterically during Peter's review?
I just started smiling, and then I noticed that you saw me smiling, and that's what was funny to me.
Dear listener, Aidan is not high right now. He's just very sleep deprived. He's not on his peak performance. Anyways, as second closest guesser for the Predacritic Game, I will go next for my review. I think this is a very good movie. People were coming out of it saying it's a masterpiece, it's fantastic, and so I think that's a dangerous way to approach a movie, going under the mentality this is a masterpiece, this is the best thing you'll ever see. I do think it gets very, very close to achieving those standards. I think the story is very strong. The animation is probably like the most impressive animation I've ever seen in any animated movie. Way head over above the first film in that regard. But let's see. Yeah, I really like where they took it. I just think there's after my first watch, because I did in the past, I don't know, less than 24 hours, I have seen this movie 2 times because I was not fully satisfied after my first watch. I felt I needed to give it another go around to kind of get the full grasp. So I gave it a second watch, and after both watches, I felt something nagging at me that I feel like it's not perfect. I can't call this a masterpiece. There's just something for me, subjectively maybe, that I had problems with. I think it works as a 2-parter, but I think there are both pros and cons to doing it like that. Lots of space for kind of the character moments, which is great, but it also kind of reveals like a weird pacing to it. It definitely feels like we've stretched out half of a movie plot to fill 2 hours and 20 minutes. So that's like a longer film too. So that's just something I kind of didn't love. But I mean, the characters are great. The story's great. I had a really great time both times. This is a really beautiful movie. So I think I'll give it a 4.5. I think it is my favorite movie of the year, nonetheless. I am not gonna say it's perfect. And I would absolutely recommend this. I think it's a great movie. Aidan, what did you think about Across the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I'll say I feel like in some ways I feel like I watched a different movie than what most people, because I've been seeing the same reaction, and I liked this movie, but this is like a firm 3.5 star for me. Like I don't I mean, I agree with you, Alex, that character moments are great, but you can have character moments while doing things plot-wise, like, that aren't, and, like, you can make a story, like, a little bit more dense than this and have a little bit more going on. And, like, that's a lot of what my biggest problems is. I think there are a lot of scenes that feel very weird, and it feels like the writers didn't have a constraint. Like, when you're writing a screenplay, like, you don't want an individual scene to take up like 10 pages, 10 pages is a lot, but you don't want an individual scene to take up like 5 pages necessarily, because that's a lot of time. And it feels like they didn't have that constraint. They were just like, we can make scenes as long as we want. And I think they feel like they dangle as a result a lot of the time. I have a few examples of that.
I think scenes generally run long in this movie. I think that's absolutely true.
Scenes run long. I think there's a general, like, it takes a while for, like, things to kind of get going. And I think that, I think there are just, like, weird moments where characters either, like, there's a tone problem for me in some things, or characters don't act the way they're supposed to, in my opinion, in some moments. That being said, I like the concepts a lot. I like the idea of story archetypes and narratives and how they seem to rule our lives, and can you write your own story? Like, that's a very interesting, we'll get into that, but it's a very interesting theme, and it's a very, like, natural theme given the concept of the movie of the Spider-Verse. Like, that's a good idea considering what the movie is. It doesn't feel like you're trying to impose something on it. The animation's great. I'm kind of torn between whether or not I think it's doing a little too much at certain points, and I hate to say that because I don't want to be the guy that's like it's super talented artists that are making something that's really creative and awesome. So I don't know how much stock I put into this criticism, but there were some moments where I was like, okay, if you just scale it back a little, I think I actually might enjoy this a little bit more. And so I had that reaction where, yeah, I like this movie a lot, but I just genuinely don't see the masterpiece. To me, it's like not close to that, and I have the feeling that I watched something else. So yeah, this is 3.5 stars for me. I would recommend it though. I think people really like it, for the most part. Yeah.
I'm honestly not gonna shame you for that because I think honestly like my review of the movie is so heavily tainted by people calling this a masterpiece that I'm kind of like, trying to be like, yeah, no, it is really good, but also like I truly do not believe that is the case. I don't think it's as perfect as people might believe it is. I think it's very, very good. So I think a 4.5 or, I think this is my favorite movie of the year, maybe just above Pipeline, but anyways. Aidan, we have a spoiler warning.
Pew, 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 pew.
And Aidan, we also have a
Oh
synopsis.
shit! I have to do this shit.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, okay.
Very long movie.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah.
So what's going to happen here, dear listener, is Aidan is going to summarize the events of this movie as best he can in under 2 minutes. Good luck, I say to you. Here we go.
Yeah.
You have 3, 2, 1, go.
Start off, Gwen's catching a bad guy, Vulture from another dimension. Basically, other Spider people come in, namely future Spider-Man, Miguel O'Hara, and Spider-Woman. Gwen has to reveal to her dad that she is in fact Spider-Man, and it's like, what the hell? And then she goes to another dimension, begrudgingly recruited by future Spider-Man for something. We flash to Miles. Miles is Spider-Man, and he's struggling to balance work and like Spider-Man life and normal life, as a Spider-Man does. He fights a guy named the Spot, who has spot and dimensional powers. And then, so after that, Gwen visits him at some point, and we know there's somewhat nefarious reasons, perhaps. She's watching Spot. That goes wrong, though. She loses Spot. Turns out, and then Miles follows her into the other dimension through a portal. Turns out that Gwen was actually just trying to like stop like anomalies, and like the Spot was like doing anomalous things within the multiverse. But Miles isn't supposed to be there because, as it gets revealed throughout the thing, is that the Spider-Men are led by Miguel O'Hara, are trying to make sure that canon events happen, and that's like specific things within the Spider-Man lore that have to take place. One of the most notable things is a police chief has to die saving a child, perchance in a red shirt. And Miles disrupts this by going to the Pan-Indian Spider-Man universe where he saves a police chief, and that's not supposed to happen. They get mad at him. They explain to Miles that his dad, who is also a police chief, has to die in order for this canon event to happen. Miles is like, fuck that, and gets away from them. He like winds up teleporting back to his own universe after talking to Peter B. Parker and Gwen and getting them kind of on his side. Turns out though, he's not in his own universe. He's in the universe that the spider that bit him is from. Turns out in this universe, he is the Prowler and his uncle is still alive. And we're left on a cliffhanger with the Spot amassing power.
Nice, that was good.
That's pretty good. That's it.
I don't know that we have to say anything else. I guess the thing is. It's pretty important that Oscar Isaac, Spider-Man 2099 reveals that the spider that bit Miles wasn't supposed to bite him. It was supposed to be for the universe it was from. And so by being
Miles is an
bit,
anomaly himself.
That happening is why his Peter has to die, because there can't be two. There can only be one or whatever. And it fucks up the other universe as well. Anything else, Peter, that we're missing?
Did we talk about how like canon
ending.
events are important because if they don't happen, the universe gets fucked?
That's true. That's a fact. We don't have to say
true.
more than that, really. Gwen's ending is important. She tries to look for Miles.
She makes
also
up with
realizes
her dad also. okay.
Yeah, she makes up with her dad because she revealed her identity. I forget if you said that. And she forms a team that is a combination of the team from the first film. So all the awesome spider people are back just at the end, and the newcomers from this movie who aren't aligned with 2099, which includes
such as Spider-Punk, the Pan-Indian Spider-Man.
Spider-Bite.
I think it's Paviter.
Spider-Bite.
The VR Spider-Man.
The VR Spider-Man, yeah. And yeah. Good. Cool. Okay, so with that out of the way, let's get into our spoiler discussion. So, first question I have for you guys. This is for the fans, what was your favorite spider sona, your favorite spider person that you saw, or cameo moment? That's obviously the most hype part of the movie, but do you have any favorites?
Yeah. A little key jangly, perhaps?
One might believe that.
I did feel that way a little bit.
I'm waiting for the spider keys, the next movie. That's a kind of joke that Lord and Miller would 100% do. I want to see spider keys. Maybe they're related to Peter Parked Car, that's one that I knew existed prior because I know a lot about the stupid spider people. But I was like, seeing Peter Parked Car, I was like, oh yeah, that's funny.
Dude, you're so deep in the lore, man. Holy shit.
I knew he was coming. No, I didn't. I didn't know he was coming, but I recognized him. Peter.
Mine isn't a cameo, but I like Spider-Punk. I liked him.
I like Spider-Punk a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dude, Daniel Kaluuya is just great, man. Like, the fact that they let him use his accent, too. It's like, I don't know if Spider-Punk's supposed to be British, but...
Although, I will say, that was also a sound thing where I was like, I don't know what he's saying.
Dude, yeah!
Sometimes I think...
kind of thick. Yeah.
Sometimes I think it's kind of the point. You're supposed to be like, whoa, what are you saying?
Yeah.
In the same way that, like the Spanish dialogue isn't dubbed, and I think it's just like...
Right,
if
which
you
I really
don't
like.
pick up all of the words, that's okay. But yeah, I definitely agree. Spider-Punk is one of my favorites. Peter, do you?
Oh, the
have any
Ben
favorites?
Riley cameo is funny too.
Yeah,
I didn't know until
Andy
later
Samberg.
it's Adam Sandberg voicing the character.
Isn't it
Adam
Sandberg?
Sandberg. Adam Sandberg and Andy
no,
Samberg.
Andy Samberg.
Yeah,
Dude, I was thinking about
Brooklyn,
Adam
so
Sandler and
obviously
then Andy Samberg. I don't know, whatever.
Yeah, his voice is very distinctive, and I thought his character was very fun. My sad and tragic past. And I liked all the spider. The spider animal for me. For me, the spider animal ones are always funny. So Spider Cat, the T-Rex, the monkey.
Great, yeah.
The monkey is mostly in the sound. Like, it's hard. They don't really have a visual gag for Spider Monkey, which is like obviously that's who it is, Spider Monkey. Yeah. But like you just hear the like the monkey noises during the chase scene. It adds so much. And there's one more. Oh, the web slinger and the spider horse. That's so funny. I like that.
Dude, that one
Western
was so
cowboy.
good.
I like the one.
Yeah.
Peter, sorry, I cut you off. What were you gonna say earlier?
Yeah, so my favorite is actually not a cameo. My favorite is just like one of the moments in the Spider Society. I guess that's how they're calling it. It's the gym, the spider gym. I think that's so funny. Like fucking a guy doing fucking leg press with like a giant block of concrete, and it's a Spider-Man doing like the iconic.
That was hilarious.
That thing,
they made
it to an actual gym exercise. I think that's great. So creative and also so funny.
I agree.
I was the only one that laughed at that. When I saw this Jesus Spider-Man pose, no one else laughed. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, that was so funny. I won't call it a Jesus pose, but
even if it's not
that is what it is.
Even if it's not even if you don't pick up the Martin Scorsese's Jesus Christ reference, it's also still just like that's an iconic Spider-Man thing.
Yeah, it's just iconic
stuff
Spider-Man
together,
pose.
And the fact that they're training that specific moment is very funny. And then when they all try to cross, it works in so many levels. When they try to cross, and the car is on there too. I don't know if you saw that. Peter Parked car drives onto it. It's too heavy.
Actually, Alex, quick question for you: is Peter Parked car supposed to be like a Spider-Man, but got turned into a car, or is it supposed to be like a Spider-Mobile type situation?
It's the riff on. I think the idea was, at one point in the canon, he had a spider buggy. And so when they were doing Spider-Verse, many years later. Like Spider-Verse is from the 2010s, I want to say. So when they did Spider-Verse and they're coming up with all the variants, they're like, what if there is a universe where Peter Parker didn't own a spider buggy if he was the spider buggy? So it's
That's
that was
so funny.
The idea.
Oh my god.
But I have one cameo I want to bring up.
Yeah, I think I know which one it is.
Yeah, you think you know? It's Childish Gambino shows up as the Prowler, the MCU's Prowler. That's one that, like, I don't know why, but I've been wanting to see him. I want the payoff for him buying the tech in Homecoming. I'm like, when are we gonna see Childish Gambino back as Prowler?
There's so many things in Homecoming that it's like, man, that would have been cool if they did that.
I agree with you, but what are you thinking of?
Well, like that, and then like anything like with the Scorpion too.
Yeah.
Yes.
That stuff. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of stuff. It's almost as if like MCU franchises that are beholden to the greater franchise sometimes suffer from that.
Yeah. I think.
But anyways,
I think this.
No,
I want to talk about that. I think I think Aidan's absolutely right. Is the Spider-Man franchise peaked at Homecoming because every other time it has to react to something that happened in somebody else's movie.
That is true, actually. That is true. That's crazy.
And I feel also people like generally don't like that Spider-Man is always learning to be Spider-Man in his movies, and he can't just be Spider-Man and do something new. So I do hope that they kind of clean slate for the next one. Maybe start introducing Miles into the MCU universe and Mafia.
Oh, that was news too that we didn't talk about. Where that was announced, right? Spider-Man 4 was actually announced. Yeah.
Those are two different things. You both mentioned two different things. Spider-Man 4 is in the works, but paused because of writer's strike. And Miles Morales is going to get a live action. I mean, they've been saying that for years, but I think maybe they kind of believe it more now, or maybe it's closer to fruition. I think that's something you want to do for sure before Secret Wars, if that ever happens. Because the whole idea of Secret Wars is you're bringing alternate universes together. And if you don't have recognizable alternate universes to bring together, what's the point? Right?
Yeah.
Like, the whole reason that works is because people were familiar with the Ultimates universe and the Old Man Logan universe and the other ones that got combined in Battleworld. This is the comics. I need to stop nerding out. Somebody stop me and move on. Any other Spider people?
Don't let me talk about my kids.
Dude, what is happening with you today?
No, he's talking about the show. We'll get to it later, but don't let me talk about my kids. The spot. Jason Schwartz, man.
Yeah,
Peter, true. Did you have a cameo? We keep cutting you off.
Yeah, I just want to quickly comment on Childish Gambino showing up, also known as
Okay, it's Childish Gambino.
I just thought like
the NASDAQ. It's like this coat cut my ass. And some of the words.
Like I didn't get spoiled at all. Like I knew nothing about the plot going to the movie, and I was just like, it's like one of these cameos that you never asked for, but then you show it up, but then you see him, and it's like, oh, that's kind of neat type of moment. It's like it doesn't really elevate the movie in any regards. It doesn't like make it any better, but it's like. It's just like something that you see and it brings you joy in the moment, type of thing for me.
I will say I don't like it.
You don't like it? I don't like. Okay. You don't.
I don't like it. I like the idea of the payoff of the Donald Glover Prowler thing. That's kind of fun. Yeah. However, I feel the same way about when they show the clip from Amazing Spider-Man where Andrew Garfield is Lino King.
I laughed so hard that first time.
I don't like it. I don't like the live action in the animation. I think it looks weird.
I thought it's fine though. Like they didn't make Cameo the movie, which is like, sort of like Spider-Man No Way Home.
No Way Home?
Yeah.
Maybe.
And also like I thought like it's actually really cool. I was doing some research about Donald Glover, and like a lot of people say that it's so significant that he showed up. I was wondering why. And it's because like apparently him dressing up as
There's
Spider-Man,
a campaign for him to play Spider-Man.
Yeah, and also apparently him dressing up as Spider-Man in a Community episode is what sparked the writer of Miles Morales to create the character. So it's actually really cool to see him show up in
that sounds right.
Spider-Verse movie. Yeah,
that sounds right. I think I forgot.
In my mind, the timeline of that is a little off, though.
No, I did my research.
Fact check.
I think that is the case.
I can look up when he was introduced, Miles Morales.
So I thought
Miles Morales,
was cool. Yeah.
First appearance, 2011.
Oh,
that lines
okay.
up with
Possible.
Community.
That is possible.
Yeah, he's not that old of a character, but it's kind of weird then that he didn't cameo as a Spider-Man variant, that he shows up as Prowler, but maybe that's neither here nor there. I do agree though, Aidan, that it was very jarring to see the live action crossover.
Yeah.
I think it's one of those things that they're like, we have to do it for the fans, and I get that. But when you see that, it's like, what 3D?
Yeah, 'cause
what are you
especially
doing here?
when they were talking about the thing about like, oh, police chiefs have to die, I was literally like, oh yeah, that's like Amazing Spider-Man. And then they showed it, like there was also a certain fact of like, yeah, I know that that's one of the things you're talking about. Like that's one of the clearest examples in live action movies. I know you're talking about that. I don't know.
I think that moment was for me because I don't remember Amazing Spider-Man at all, and so the fact that guy dies, I was like, oh, sure, yeah, I guess that might have happened. I don't remember that specifically. Anyways, we need to move on to other favorite parts, just generally for the movie, and I think we all probably have a few. Anyone want to go first?
Yeah, I have one, and I know you guys are all very keen-eyed, so you guys might have caught it before me. But so there's this whole sequence when Miles is getting teleported using like the whole spider machine thing, and apparently right before that scene, you can clearly see on the console that he's going to Earth 42, not his Earth, but Earth 42.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
I didn't catch that, so
is this your favorite moment?
No, that is not my favorite moment.
Tell me your favorite moment. That's what I asked.
So like them building up, the art style of this movie is obviously incredible, and oftentimes the background and the lighting and the color changes based on the plot and the mood and the atmosphere. So I thought it's one of the cases where it's like Spider-Man is like, about to make a really big decision. Like, does he save his dad or does he save the world that he's in? So the sky's all green, it's all moody, all very dark. So I thought that's why the color is different. And then we get to, him talking to his mom, and then finally taking up the courage to reveal his Spider-Man, intercutting with, Gwen and the other spider people chasing after him. So, it really gives you a sense that, he is in the right universe. And at that time, it never crossed my mind that he might be in a different universe. He ended up in the wrong universe. And then the mom sort of acting surprised, who's Spider-Man? What is going on? Sort of, just give you a sense, in the back of your head, it's like, maybe that is not right. And then when you finally see, fucking Uncle Aaron, by the way, that reveal was so sick. Uncle Aaron just showed up. And then he's like, that moment it clicked for me. I was like, oh, dude, the machine scanned the spider gene, not who he is, but who the spider who bit him. It's that thing that helped the machine to take people to the correct universes. And I think it's just really cool whenever a movie gives you opportunities to figure things out. And honestly, for me, this movie is very tight when it comes to it just bombards you with information, new stuff, going to places. So it's really nice that all of a sudden this movie slows down at this sort of third act moment and sort of gives you some time to process the information and give you a chance to piece together that he might be in a different universe before they straight up tell you. So I thought that sequence masterfully done, and really enjoyed that.
Yeah, I think it's a really good. I wouldn't describe it the same way you are. I'd call that a good pull the rug out from under you kind of twist reveal moment. And I think that was. I do agree. It's really strong in how they intercut moments from what are universes apart, but you're not supposed to know, and you're just kind of fooled into believing that they are in the same universe, despite there being quite obvious when you know what to look for, like I did on the second time, differences, like the fact that Miles's room is completely different. Not even like there's a punching bag just out of frame like that. I'm pretty sure he doesn't have in the original. It's raining in one of the universes and not in the other one, which is like a really big signifier. The curtains are not drawn the same way, and lighting is like it's lit on the outside of the building and Gwen's and anyways. But yeah, it's a great moment where like lots of people were going, "Oh shit!" in my theater the first time.
Yeah. I think it's a great moment too, but it's another moment that I think, and this is a general trend in the movie where there's like a weird thing that kind of undercuts it for me, and maybe I'm just thinking about it wrong, but it's like, so if Gwen, like, all Gwen is doing is standing or stuck to the wall outside an empty room, so like, what's she doing?
That's true. Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Like that was the only thing, and like that was.
Sense.
Because it's like it's cut in such a way that you believe she's listening at first, like but there's nothing for her to actually be listening to after the reveal. So it's just like
I guess it's his parents maybe because they are talking, I think.
Or like I think the idea is that like she's like trying to like psych herself up to go in there. It's like this is like hard for her, but I just think like I don't know. But I like the movie too. I think it's great.
Might be with the latter point because she and Miles had a bit of a falling out, so maybe that's what it is. Peter?
Yeah, and also like speaking of like just like general logic and like stuff like that, I find it really weird that Miguel O'Hara, who literally invented this technology, ended up on the wrong Earth where Miles did not go. You know, like he went to the Earth where Miles is from, not the Earth that the Miles is gonna go, because he knows, like, he literally invented the machine. He knows how the machine works, and he ended up.
Yeah, and it says on the machine where he went. So how do they not know where he went?
So, no, I thought that was kind of funny, but like it's all right.
No, I think it's great because it's an assumption that everybody made is that he used the go home machine, so they're checking for him at his home, but they are forgetting that also like the fact that the twist that they'd scanned the spider DNA is kind of like it's not really intuitive. It's not an obvious answer. It's kind of like this is why that happened. And so if he were to go back to home base, check the computers, if he had that idea, but like obviously first thing he's gonna do is look where he thinks Miles went.
No, that's true.
Home.
Maybe.
And the kid is invisible. So, like, he could search for quite a long time before thinking maybe he's not here. I think it's a fair thing. Aidan, did you have a favorite part?
I like the twist a lot, despite just criticizing it a little bit there. I think my favorite part of the movie is, like, the general concept. I have a bit of a cop-out answer in that, like, I don't know, it's not a specific moment. It's just like the idea of, and like I talked about this in my non-spoiler review, but the idea of like there are stories that are written for us and paths that we're supposed to follow, and like archetypes that exist out there in the cultural zeitgeist that we are supposed to follow, and are you able to renegotiate that and decode and encode a new meaning to your life? And I think that's a really interesting idea. It's like a very, it's a cool spin on like a hero as well. And yeah, I think, and like I was saying, I think it's a really like natural idea. If you're taking in the concept, like it's like you're looking at what you have, which is a story about a bunch of different characters who have all been through very similar things and have repeated the same stories, and so it's looking at that and coming up with a very natural concept for it. Like it's just embedded within, and that's what I really like. And I also just think it can also serve as just like an interesting conversation on like on how the stories that become popular and are immersed in popular culture wind up creating these sort of ingrained paths. I think that's interesting too.
Yeah, I think it's a really interesting meta commentary, but also like it gets very like not only is it kind of meta and asking questions about like a hero's journey, like you said, and some people were making connections to the later Matrix movies, which I will admit I have not seen yet. But what I like about it is how it's still centered on the like Miles' personal journey, and it's a continuation of the first film where he's struggling to be specifically Spider-Man and living up to those expectations, and he's trying so desperately to fit in with this group of individuals, which I think, kind of like what you were saying, is baked into this idea of like the Spider-Verse is, here's the newcomer, how do I fit into this greater web of spider people, and what they're offering is that in this kind of darker tone of the sequel is, well, now that you're Spider-Man, that comes with serious baggage. And one of the moments that I thought was so funny is he's returned. He's gone to Earth 42. We think he's gone home, and he's kind of like reliving flashbacks of like his saddest moments as he's running through the city. Very creative moment. And we see on the windows the characters from the first movie, the other Spider-Sonas, and one of them is John Mulaney's Spider-Ham, and he goes, and he goes, Miles, sometimes, and he's like, sometimes you lose the people you love, and like the fact that is. Like they use John Mulaney for that message is just so funny to me. But anyways, so it's continuing off of that idea, and like the fact that he really has to contend with, if he continues being Spider-Man, if he wants to be part of this club, certain events are going to have to happen because it's quote-unquote destiny. It's a really interesting idea for sure. Peter?
Yeah.
Peter. Well, I have more to say, but I'm afraid to get into it because we have a point on that.
No, I'm getting into it right now.
If we're here,
we're getting into it? All right. So, Watch out.
We're getting into it.
Watch out, loose. Watch out, guys.
Let him loose. He's going wild, everybody. Here, watch out. Sorry, go.
I really loved the idea. I just thought, we had so many... The Spider-Man as a character has been adapted into screenplay and movies and cartoons so many times in the past. And it's, I think it's really cool to see, 10, 20 years into adapting this character into something on the screen. We still get to see an original and really unique take on the Spider-Man character. About not just, I think Homecoming got close to that, where you sort of manipulate the villain's relationship with Spider-Man, but I think this one is truly unique in the sense that it's an examination of Spider-Man as a character and what it means to be Spider-Man, on top of everything that's happening in Miles' life. It's so cool to see that it's do you need to experience the same experience like the Spider-Man before you to become a Spider-Man? Is that what it means to be a Spider-Man? To go through these struggles and to live with these baggages? Or can you define your own Spider-Man? Is this still possible? And I think that's one of the reasons why this movie is so good to me, where it's it's beyond just a superhero story. It's a story about, like Aidan said, defining your own destiny in a way. It's can I defy fate? Can I be something more than my predecessors? Can I be something more than the group of people that I belong with? And I think that is just super cool to see.
Yeah.
It's also, I think I'd hand up first.
You were gone. I didn't think I had to.
I was listening.
Okay, whatever.
It's also the idea of what is fate, and is fate real? Are these things that are actually inherent of the universe or whatever, and they need to happen, or is it just that this is the way that we frame things? This is the reality our stories present, and therefore it is reality. And it's an interesting idea of is fate real, or is it something we construct?
That's one thing that I'm gonna I'm really curious to see how they handle in the next one.
Same.
Is what Spider-Man 2099 is what he's saying real? Because at a certain point, if Miles does start to mess with the canon, does he get proven right? Does Spider-Man 29 get proven right? If not, how is his experience different, and how is it okay now? I have some ideas for some loopholes, and I want to discuss predictions much later at the end, but I will also add my own point. I think kind of this self-examination is also it fits into the kind of storytelling mode we're in right now. I recently went down the rabbit hole learning about what metamodernism is as an art movement, and in film specifically. It impacts all ways of life, but metamodernism is probably since the Y2K, follows postmodernism and modernism, obviously. And it is where postmodernism, which is what most people have grown up on, is kind of like looking back at older values and being very critical of them. Metamodernism goes back the way around to a kind of like sincerity plus criticism. So I think Into the Spider-Verse and Across the Spider-Verse do this really well by being critical of what came before and really analyzing things, and while also being very sincere and creating their own stories that have a lot of heart. And there's certain like signs of metamodernism. I'm doing a really bad job explaining this, so go do your own research if you're listening. But one of the signs is like anthropomorphism, in that there's so much sincerity, it's like overflowing with the amount of like feeling we have to show, so it flows into other things like animals. And so that's true of Spider-Ham, and I don't think there's any animals in this movie, but just a cool thing I've learned about. I also think Guardians of the Galaxy fits in with that, but that's a discussion for another day. I'll stop talking. Who would have hand up next? I think Peter, maybe?
I haven't had... No.
Peter had his hand up first.
Oh, I just have a quick comment anyways. I just thought like it's also
I think
really
that's not
cool.
true.
I just thought it's really cool that they tied all these ideas to the plot as well. Like they have this whole, it's a canon event. If the canon event doesn't happen, like the whole universe gets destroyed, etc. Like it's just a really interesting way to link a thematically interesting concept into a pretty interesting plot device as well. So,
yeah, I was gonna first say, are you talking about like that one YouTube video that was like circulating on Twitter where it's like the thumbnail is like, I haven't seen the video, but I question that argument a lot. I don't know if I believe in that. But anyway, but anyway, I was gonna say, going forward, I do think like, to me, it's pretty clear that it will happen so that Miles can defy destiny. Like I think that's gonna wind up.
Yeah.
Like that's what's gonna. I don't see how that doesn't happen, and I think like what's great about that is that it also harkens to like the purest concept of what the Spider-Man story is and what like the meaning is in it is and why it's so pervasive, and that's that like you can save everyone. That's like the core concept. It's like that Spider-Man is someone who saves everyone and will sacrifice everything to save everyone. And so the idea that like he will defy, like all of these Spider-Men have lost their way. And the idea that he will defy this narrative and in doing so actually consolidate the most important values of Spider-Man is kind of, that's fun. That's cool. I think that's what's going to happen anyway.
I would say in addition to that he needs to save everyone, is that one of the core ideas about Spider-Man, going all the way back to his creation, is that anyone can be Spider-Man. And I think that idea is going to be in the next movie, because Spider-Man is, by his costuming design, fully encased in material clothing. You have no idea who he looks like. And so there's this idea that's been played with from time to time, is like anybody could be under the mask. A lot of people gravitate toward Spider-Man as a hero, even if they themselves are not Caucasian or, fit the other characteristics of Peter Parker, because unless you see Peter Parker in his regular clothing, you don't know. It could be anyone, right? And that's where like when doing the whole like Miles, the idea of creating a character like Miles is anyone can be Spider-Man. It doesn't have to be someone who looks like Peter Parker. And I think the Spider-Verse is, again, furthering this idea, anyone can be Spider-Man. And so I think challenging the idea of what it means to be Spider-Man, so they're suggesting Spider-Man has to be someone who suffers these great losses. And I think Miles is going to offer a counter-argument that, no, that's not necessarily true. You can still be Spider-Man without having to do X, Y, and Z. Like, you know, it's not so restrictive, you know? That's my 2 cents.
Yeah, it's like, and broadly, like, defining heroism not by suffering, but by helping.
Actual heroism. Yeah. Miles is always about breaking expectations, and so I like that. Like, there's that moment in this movie where he's like, nah, I'm going to do my own thing. Great moment.
Yeah.
Super sick. Anyways, I think that's enough about that. Why don't we talk about my favorite moment? I have 2 that we could talk about.
Go for it.
They're pretty small, I'd say. So the smaller one is by Peter. It's just to turn on the light. And he's back. Okay.
He's
one
back.
of my favorite moments is the fight with the Spot. Just like great Spider-Man antics. And I mean specifically the one in the first act, Miles versus the Spot in the convenience store, and how it escalates from there. Just like Spider-Man not being super great at this, and also encountering like the weirdest guy you've ever met. Villain of the week is what they call him, and I love that term. Just like one of the goofiest D-list Spider-Man heroes or villains, and they make a really cool fight scene out of it, falling through the spots, and like he'll kick a dot and it'll kick him in the face, and then he has to learn how to counter that specific skill or power set. Really loved it. I thought it was really funny too.
Yeah, I agree. That moment's great. And I will say, just
Nodding.
while we're still on,
Okay.
while we're just still in the realm of the Destiny thing, this is the last thing I'll say about it, I promise.
He's
The
circling
thing I
back.
like-
Okay.
Just
thinking
because,
about it.
like, because what I like about the Spot, the thing that I particularly like about the Spot
Okay, sure,
is that,
okay.
like, it's also this idea of he is meant to fit the archetype of villain of the week. That's an ingrained archetype, but because of the events and the anomalies that occur in the movie, he is something that like winds up fitting a different one, which is that like the origin story that's connected to Miles. Like he is spinning a sort of fate narrative that Miles doesn't buy into. Like they're fated to be nemesis. And then because of the way the movie unfolds, like that winds up being somewhat true, but that's another wrinkle into the idea. Like that doesn't necessarily have to be true, and it's interesting. Yeah.
I think what's great about the Spot as a villain, and why I think he's a better villain than Kingpin was in the first, is that his story, he is Miles' parallel. He is the anti-Miles in that he just wants to be taken seriously, which is something that Miles is continually struggling with. No one treats him seriously as Spider-Man. His parents don't see him as an adult. He's always asking people to stop calling him kid. I think Spider-Man 2099 calls him kid. I think Peter B. Parker calls him kid. He wants to be seen as an adult. And that's kind of like the relatable, like just growing up kind of story that this is hearkening to. But back to the Spot, he's also just trying to be taken seriously. And I think also what you're suggesting is that both Miles and the Spot are both trying to find their way to spin their own destinies. So Miles is saying, I want to be Spider-Man even if I wasn't supposed to, and I don't have to follow the rules of the Spider-Man. And Spot is defying his destiny as villain of the week, forgettable idiot, and is saying, no, I'm gonna manifest destiny and become. I know. He wants to manifest his destiny. No correlation to the terrible. He's not gonna pull a manifest destiny.
Yeah.
He's gonna let's shorten it. He's just gonna manifest. What he wants. He's just gonna manifest. I'll stop on that. Peter, do you have any comments?
Yeah, and I thought it's just really cool. Like, by the way, I really thought like Spot is like a throwaway villain. I thought like he's gonna be Miles's ticket into the Spider Society. Like he's gonna defeat Spot in some interesting way, and then get into. And I love the way they handle his character, and like how he had his own mini arc during the movie as well. Even though this movie is already so densely packed, like about him. At first, like, using his powerful bat because he's forced to, because he literally can't get a job, and then eventually embracing his power to a degree, like, especially the scene right after, like, he sort of, like, sucked himself into a hole, into his own, Dude, like it's really
sucks
hard to
up
get
in the
around the hose references because his whole power's about hose. And then like sort of like I thought he's gonna be done. It's just gonna be like funny, ha ha ha. He's trapped inside himself. But like he actually had like an interesting retrospective moment of discovering his powers and how he's gonna continue afterwards. I just thought it was super cool, and he's badass now. So you gotta take him seriously.
He's scary. When they changed his design to like the scribbly thing, I was like, oh no, that's spooky. Cool. But I will say that you kind of said that like something. You said the word densely packed, and I think that's a good estimation of like what is maybe an issue with this movie. There's a lot of stuff starts going on, and specifically referring to the Spot, he just kind of gets lost in the mix.
Yeah, I agree.
In the second half,
I actually thought that's fine, but I'm open.
It's not something I noticed or like particularly cared about. I'll save it for later, but it's kind of the issue with stretching a story into two parts. Is that maybe there's not quite enough story for the Spot in all of that, and so they kind of just have to stop doing it for a bit and then resume at the end, which, looking back on it, is quite awkward in terms of his own story. Yeah. If you look at it from the Spot's perspective, the question is, what is he doing that whole time? And I know, like, I think it helps for clarity for following Miles' story that we don't cut away, but I think even one cutaway to what Spot is doing in the meantime would help immensely, because it's just like, where do you go? Why is he not doing whatever? Because as far as we know, the parallel universes run at the same time. They haven't really talked about time manipulation. It seems that they are sharing a temporal linear like time stream. God, that's scientific for this. Anyways.
Yeah, I kind of agree with that. I think he feels like very secondary in this movie, and I think that there's a little bit of awkwardness in that. Like he exists as a thing that is a threat to Miles's dad. Like that's part of the core of it, where it's like there has to be a tangible. So okay, I'll actually get into one of my problems with this movie, where is that like, so what the problem that is set up is that like Miles's dad has to die. Right, that's and Miles doesn't want that to happen, obviously, but like, there's no reason why he would die immediately, and so it's like Miles is like scrambling to get back. Unless I missed something, Miles is like scrambling to get back to his Earth to like save his dad from what? And I think that's what like the Spot is supposed to be, but it's like we don't know. It's a canon event, but we don't know when it's supposed to happen. And again, unless I missed that. What?
It happens in 2 days.
Yeah, I think you missed that. Because it's basically...
Okay, I missed it. Okay.
The whole concept is a captain that's close to Spider-Man has to die, and he becomes the captain in 2 days.
Oh, and it has to be on the captain thing?
Yeah, because Captain Stacy, Captain Sin...
But it has to be when he becomes captain?
Like he can't be not.
Well,
captain.
basically, it's like they basically confirmed it. Like Miguel O'Hara, like when like he was like, oh, so like Spot is gonna, because like Spot said like I'm gonna destroy like destroy your family or something like that, and that's when Spot is going back, I guess. They didn't explicitly say it, but like. I felt like it's sort of implicit to the audience that, that is sort of the threat. They literally said it in the movie that Spot is going to kill. Because, like, Miles see a vision when he's traveling through the Spot-verse that Spot kills his his dad.
Oh, what the hell?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't remember that. But, okay, my thing... I think my thing is, like, a clock thing, though. Like, there's no reason why... It isn't like an immediate threat, right? Like, because sure, he's becoming captain in 2 days, but he could die as captain at any time. So and I feel like that's what Spot is supposed to be, but I don't think it comes together well enough such that Miles needs to be back there now because his dad is in like really imminent danger. I think that's what needs to happen, and I think it's a result of they're trying to not ramp up too hard before the second movie. And like but I think they need to for this movie to fully work. I think the dad needs to be like literally walking to his death. Like that needs to be something that is like happening.
Yeah, I see your issue. I think the issue is exactly what you said, in that the sequel has to take place over a certain amount of time. He's stuck in the wrong universe. That's not going to take 5 seconds to fix. They need that 2-day window for him to have enough time to escape, get back to his Earth, and then deal with it. So I understand the lack of ticking clocks, but I think it works in the moment because Miles is going to be imprisoned, and he is for a moment. They're going to try and keep him there, and so he has until they he just has to stop that from happening. It's an immediate I need to get to safety kind of thing, because they're going to trap me and hold me until my dad dies.
Yeah, but he could escape any time in the next 2 days, and that's what,
right.
And it doesn't matter story wise.
No, but if you look at it from Miles' perspective, he's learned his dad is going to die, and these people are trying to stop him from saving his dad. He doesn't need to be there to save his dad. He needs to get away from this room, because these people are going to imprison me, and the longer they have, the better they will imprison me. Because it seems like a very temporary thing to trap him in the red thing, and they don't really know the full extent of his powers that allow him to escape that. He's just trying to escape these people. I don't think it's that deep.
We don't know that the imprisoning, that needs to be set up better if that's the reason. If the reason is that the prison will get stronger if he doesn't get out now, then there's something there. But I get what you're saying. I understand why the character would want to get out really hard. I understand that. I'm saying it literally, you could make the movie, if you wanted to make this movie half an hour longer and have him struggle for a day to try to get out, literally doesn't change anything. That fundamentally doesn't change what's happening. And that's a problem. That needs to be more urgent. He needs to have to get out now. Not just because he thinks that there will be a threat soon. There has to literally be a threat, and he has to get out now to stop it.
Oscar Isaac says that it's going to happen in 2 days. Not that his dad.
But it's not now. He doesn't need to get out now. That's a big problem.
I don't understand why that's an issue for you, bro.
Yeah, it's a bit because it's not urgent. It's literally, it is not urgent that he escapes at that moment.
I see it in two layers, right? One layer is, as Alex said, someone he's close to, and honestly, I think the audience really likes Miles' dad's character as well, Jefferson Morales, I think. He's just a very charming, charismatic character that we don't want to see die. And second reason is probably because there are a bunch of clues they interweave into the movie, talking about how trapping Miles has always been part of the plan because he is a mistake. His existence breaks the canon. So it might not be a short-term imprisonment what we thought. It might be a long-term thing because his existence endangers the multiverse or some shit.
Yeah, nothing you guys are saying is refuting what I'm saying. I
understand what you're saying, and I'm saying the ticking clock thing. I don't think it matters. I think 2 days.
Yeah,
I think it matters a lot. No,
when you have a second part, what are you gonna do?
You can absolutely. Writers are not that bound that they can't come up with some reason that Miles' dad is in imminent danger.
Dude, if your dad is gonna die,
let me finish. Let me finish. Okay, writers can come up with a reason that the dad is in imminent danger, and he narrowly avoids it this time, but we find a way to escalate it in the second one. That's a very possible thing. So no, it's weird. It winds up being a stakeless third act because nothing is happening immediately. Literally, the problem cannot happen. The death, if it's in 2 days, right? Then the death cannot happen. The thing that we're afraid of cannot happen in the span of the movie. So what are we afraid of? What are the stakes of the last act of the movie if the the consequences literally cannot happen within them.
I think it's because we have different ideas of what the stakes are. I think the stakes in there are long-term and short-term stakes. So what are supposed to propel the third act are the short-term stakes of being imprisoned. And I think that's supposed to be enough. It works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to talk about this any longer. I think we need to move on.
No, okay, I have one more thing. Which is but the thing of imprisonment, like, the only reason you, like, imprison a character is, like, that's just an obstacle, right? And so, like, it's, like, that's not a stake. Like, that's not a stake in the story. It's not, like, because we don't know, say he doesn't escape in that moment, then he's just in the prison and he has to find another way to escape. That's not, like, you know what I mean? It's not a like, a stake raising moment. It's just an obstacle.
All right.
It's a different thing. Like, and that's like, and so like and again, it's another thing that I think undercuts the ending of this movie, where it's like, this is great, but the dad isn't in danger. So what? Like, the dad is not in danger right now, and he needs to be. It's very,
Dude, I think that's a little cap, because like you literally see Spot manifest, and like you see this encroaching.
It's not against the dad, but we don't know that
it is against the dad.
No, but the Spot is not literally going after the dad at that moment. That's what he. No, he needs to be like. You think he is? No, he's just like manifesting energy. He needs to be going after the dad.
He doesn't know his identity, Peter, so he's not specifically going after his dad.
That's
he's just
true.
going
That's
to
no threat. We have to know more or less how the dad is going to die. In some way, like that has to happen. No, but we have to know we have to understand the mechanism through which that can happen, because there's no threat if like.
Well, we know how it happens. It's the building crushes him. We've seen it in the
but we don't like. Okay, but he's not by a building to be crushed.
Yeah.
Like
I get it, Aidan.
The dad is not in a situation in which a building would crush him. So why would we think that that's going to happen immediately?
But
if
wouldn't it be...
say for example, like, whatever, he was in like his captain's swearing in ceremony or whatever, and the Spot manifests himself there, and we see that this calamity is happening, and we see like structural damage happening to buildings. Okay, then we know, this might happen now. But it's just like it's nothing. It's just whatever. It just like it's not specific enough, and it's not getting at it enough.
No, I understand your complaint, but I feel like if you actually do these things, then you're really just hyping up a third act that's never gonna get like a proper climax that the audience is looking for, because the climax will happen in the next movie. Like, how are you gonna meaningfully resolve that if we actually set it up?
Sure, but my thing is that even if you're making a 2-part movie, your first movie should have a climax that resolves something.
I think we did, though. I think we did. Not as satisfying as I would like, but I think we did get a proper climax.
I don't think we did, and that's one of my problems with this movie.
Moving on,
let's move
sort of agree with, but whatever. Another part that I really like is when Gwen and Dad. Gwen and her dad have scenes. Those are, I think, some of the. I think those are some of the best scenes of the movie, and maybe that's where some of the emotional, what's the word? Not climax, but like the feeling of like conclusion for what is ultimately a cliffhanger ending. You kind of get vicariously through Spider-Gwen, in that, because she frames the story, which I think was a really interesting choice. She has a full arc in this movie that is like done by the end, and I think that works super well. So
that's true. She gets her band. Yeah,
exactly. And I think I'll specifically talk about the moments that I like, and we can expand this to talking about Gwen, who I love as a character. But the moments with her dad, I think, are really powerful. Just how they use animation, and I'm sure this is in what you were talking about, how it's maybe a little too flashy, and I can see that. But there was at least 2 parts that worked really well for me. I like that, like, where it stops being reality. They kind of become in their own world, where it's very surreal and expressionist, more about like the feeling of it than their actual surroundings, which don't really matter anyways. And I like that the painting, what I'm calling painting, is behind Captain Stacy when she first reveals, is like a lot of white and some black, and I feel like it's like his black and white morality of like good and bad, and I felt like that really spoke to the moment and what was going on. And then later, when she comes back at the very end, and it's all watercolors and it's like dripping down, and I was like it's like crying. It's like the world is reflecting the inner states of the characters. And when he has that moment of like love, like I think he says like I quit or something. I think it's that moment where the background suddenly changes and it's white and these shapes are moving out from behind his head. I was like, oh, this is perfect. I really loved that moment. Those two moments, I guess. But
yeah, like I think the visual in this movie is just so strong. Like with Gwen specifically, I don't know if you guys noticed. I didn't notice this until I saw like a comparison of a breakdown of some of the visual elements. But it's really cool how different Spider-Man's worlds, they have like a unique visual style attached to it, and the theme for Gwen's world is sort of this watercolored painting-ish thing going on. And one thing that's really cool during that, on top of like so many visual details you already described, is when eventually Gwen and his dad reconcile their differences, there was sort of an explosion of warm color behind Gwen's dad and also just like across the frame. And it's just like using color and the visual style in such a unique way to convey the character's feelings. And it's just super cool because like at the beginning of the movie, the style is very much like a cold, dark, blue, greenish color, and then at the end it's yellow, red, really warm and I guess comforting colors compared to the ones from the beginning of the movie. Really cool scene.
Yeah, I would say you were right, Alex, that this is kind of what I was talking about, and that could have just been my sleep deprivation thing where it's just like I'm sitting there just like images are just kind of washing over me at a certain point, and it's like I at some points in the movie did feel so overloaded that I didn't feel anything, like and the images are just kind of going past me instead of going into me, if that makes sense. But I also, like I said, I don't know if I think this is a fair criticism, because I think like, for one, I think a lot of people didn't have that experience, and so it's like a very subjective thing. And also, like, I'm very wary of criticizing artists for being very expressive. Like, that's just not something I'm necessarily interested in criticizing too much. What I will say about the Gwen dad story thing really quick that I do have a legitimate criticism of is that I think the attempt to frame the story by Gwen is clever, but ultimately doesn't work for me because it's clearly not her story. Like, the movie is Miles' story, and it once we're into the Miles thing, it's clear that that's what it is. So it's like, it's bookending it with Gwen, but I don't think it doesn't work enough for a satisfying conclusion, even though it is a fully realized arc that I appreciate. It just doesn't completely work for me there as a conclusion for the whole movie.
Fair enough. I found it very satisfying that she was like, I found a team. I think that moment really worked for me personally. But what I will say is that the feeling it doesn't have to do with the animation, but the feeling of just like the movie washing over you and getting lost. Actually, I just said lost in the sauce, but like getting lost in the sauce of this movie. I felt that both times, not sleep deprived. So I think it's just this movie is overwhelming with the amount of stuff they're throwing at you, plot-wise, exposition-wise, character-wise. There's just like constant stuff happening that I found myself like literally like tuning out at times and then being like, wait a minute, I'm not paying attention to what's going on. And I think it's a problem of just like it's overstuffed perhaps, of like there's just a lot going on in this movie. And I think also the editing choices. I think the pacing.
Yes,
also
I agree. I was going to say editing.
Encourages zoning out, just because it maybe lapses into slow moments that overstay. And
then goes like ah,
and then it's like Spider-Man's falling, and like all this sort of stuff. So
yeah.
Yeah, I actually didn't have a problem with that, but I would comment on the overstuffing and like the overloading of information, etc. Like, I don't know why, but I had the sensation, like I knew before going into the movie that the movie is 2 hours and a bit long, but like when I was in the theater, it felt significantly longer than 2 hours. I think it's probably related to, you know, the amount of information they're presenting you. I was watching back some clips. I was like, oh my god, that's almost at the end of the movie. That, like, at that moment, like, I thought in the theater we still have like 30 minutes left. That's like how much 10 minutes in the movie felt to me. It felt like 30 minutes.
Yeah.
But like personally, that actually didn't, like, I don't see that as a problem per se, but like I still enjoyed it, and I think like you know, like, even though there's a lot of information that they put on you, they're like, the payoffs are worth it, in my opinion. Like, I didn't have a problem with it.
I think that's a side effect of the fact that this is a two-parter movie. So this feels, in a lot of ways, like the first half of a movie stretched into forever. And so your usual kind of like guiding marks that are maybe not something you're picking up consciously, but subconsciously, most people, when they watch movies, are recognizing certain staples. It's like the canon events in the Spider-Man movies. There's certain things that are ubiquitous across mainstream movies. There's like, you just like moments that you instinctually recognize and feel right. Yeah. And so like, you're looking for those moments. Where's the Dark Night of the Soul, to quote the Save the Cat book? Where's like the intro to Act 2? Where's the climax? That's a really like famous one that maybe people don't always recognize exactly. But you're looking for these moments that don't quite look the same because you're not going to get a regular third act. It's one that ends with a cliffhanger. We have to set up the next movie. And so I feel like I found myself in the third act being like, oh, it ends here. And then it goes on for 30 minutes longer because it's like I felt like there were a few kind of false endings. Not as there was some movie that had a lot that was way worse that we saw in recent memory, but there was at least one false memory where they were cutting pretty quickly and it was like, oh, it's ending here, and then it lasted for another 20 minutes.
I felt so relatable. Yeah, that's so relatable. And one thing I would say though, like, it's honestly, I think, exactly what you talk about. It's like when you're watching a regular feature movie, you are sort of like, you can pick up these marks and you get a sense of where in a movie you're at, and that sort of helps contextualize. You know, it's like, oh, we're 2 hours into the movie's about to end, or like, oh, we're only an hour in, we still have an hour and a half to go. But I want to defend the ending of the movie a little bit. I don't think it's a good ending at all. But I think, like,
I want to defend the ending.
I want to defend it a little bit. I don't think it's that bad. So Gwen got her lovely conclusion. I think Miles, even though like from like a whole movie context perspective, he didn't get like a proper ending. But I think like his ability to eventually confront a figure who he thought is his mom and be able to convey that I am Spider-Man. I've gone through some shit. I want to talk about it, and really open himself up to a parent figure who he's scared that by revealing these things, not gonna love him anymore. I think that is a huge character growth moment, and I think that by itself is a nice wrap up of at least the Across the Spider-Verse version of Miles' story. And also we of course got like a 20-minute tease about like Prowler and Uncle Aaron, but you know, I think like at least emotionally, from an emotional perspective, Miles has grown as a character, so that works for me.
I agree that like that's supposed to be the moment, and of course it brings hollow because it's not his real mom, so it doesn't have the full catharsis. But I do think that the Prowler stuff at the end like goes on way too long.
I agree.
Like almost immediately when you see the guy, and then you just kind of go like, oh, Miles is Prowler, right? Because there's another Miles. Like, if you figure it out really quickly.
You didn't need the reveal.
You don't need to draw it out quite so
especially like, and even if you didn't figure it out immediately, the moment you see another guy who isn't Aaron Davis being the Prowler, it's like, okay, it's Miles. Yeah.
It's the same build. Like, this is an alternate universe, but they look really similar. So yeah, that goes on for way too long. You didn't need to go to a second location and all that sort of stuff. But I wanted to give an example of how this is like the pacing of this film is weird. The moment where they go to was it Moonbatten? It's a combination of Mumbai and Manhattan. So
yeah.
I think it's Moonbatten, and the moment they go there in a regular movie, that would be around, I would guess, the 25-minute mark. That's your intro to Act 2, which is usually positioned with going into a new location, starting the adventure, leaving home.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
That's your intro to Act 2. That's 25 minutes in. That doesn't happen for an hour. We leave for Moonbatten an hour after the movie has started.
Yeah.
So that's why, like, the first act feels so long, is because the first act and then some is all in Brooklyn. We don't leave Brooklyn until the midpoint of the movie, more or less.
Yeah. I agree that it's weird. It's weird that the midpoint is going there. That definitely feels like something that should happen earlier. And I think it is the two-part movie thing where you're trying to space that out more. I think if this movie is a one-part movie, as most movies are, then yeah, I agree with you. I think that is Act 2A instead of 2B. Yeah.
I don't even hate the idea of making it two-parted, but why did it have to be so fucking long? Like, if it's a two-part movie, just make two shorter movies, you know?
Yeah,
like, I don't feel the need for these space fillers, you know? They're nice scenes.
Yeah, and it should feel like a complete movie by itself to an extent. And I think this movie doesn't quite feel complete enough for me. And I'm trying to contrast it to a two-part movie I really did like, which was Dune. That is similar in that, like, I don't know if Dune really, like...
We haven't seen Dune 2, but...
Exactly,
we haven't seen Dune.
No, but, and so my thing is, like, I don't know... Thinking about the first Dune movie, I don't think... That movie probably doesn't stand... What are you guys laughing at?
I'm not.
You haven't seen Dune 2, bro.
I know.
I guess we're comparing two first part movies where we haven't seen the second part of either.
Okay.
So
and my point is that, like, I think the first Dune probably doesn't feel like a complete movie, and the only reason I don't feel that way is because I read the book. But maybe there's something that, like, isn't...
Okay, well...
Maybe there's something else there.
The dummy who hasn't read the book says it felt like a real movie. Dune doesn't have that problem.
It felt complete to you?
Yeah, it felt complete.
The ending feels weird. The ending feels weird in both cases.
Yeah,
because
and that's
we
me.
have to
I'm just trying to think
further
about
story.
Right.
It ends
I'm
in
just
a
trying
really
to think
weird
about, like,
spot.
but if Dune feels more complete to you, why does it feel more complete to you? I'm trying to think of what the thing is.
Well,
like, what's the reason?
Two words for
it's
you.
like...
Denis Villeneuve. Enough said.
Well, I actually have a real reason, because I think it's a really, really nice way to wrap up Paul's sort of like Atreides arc, and now it's his I forgot. What are the sand people? What are the sand people?
Freeman? The Freeman?
Yeah, the Fremen arc.
The Tusken
It's like
Raiders.
his duel with Jameis is like the end of his Atreides arc and his beginning of the Fremen arc, and we see the worms in the desert, etc. Like it's like I thought it was fine. Like I know, like for a lot of people, it wasn't like satisfying, big battle scene, shit like that. But like, you know, to me, like it was a really nice bookend to his royal family arc into the desert people arc.
I think the flow of that story also just it feels like, oh, there's so much more to come.
Exactly.
Like, and while also feeling like this was just chapter 1, whereas this actually just feels like half a movie, like Spider-Verse in some ways, and Dune
feels like, it does feel like a conclusion. Like I stand by the feeling that the ending is weird for Dune, but like Peter said, it is like that moment that it does be like he's been accepted, like that it is a bookmarking moment, and the feeling of like them walking across the desert, that's an end of a movie, and this feels like you've, instead of being open to the possibilities, we've trapped the character, and it feels like there isn't an ending there. It's like, no, something is going to happen, like tune in next week kind of thing. We have to solve this very immediate problem, which I think maybe just like, trapping Miles like that is kind of a weird spot to end on. And I don't like that they show how he's going to escape, and that the answer is the thing he's been using the whole movie. You know, like the sparkly fingers. Okay, he's still doing that. Okay, got it.
When that was weird too, because I was like, is he going to escape now? Like, is this... Like, are we going to see a fight
when is
at
this
the end
ending?
It's another thing of, like, when is this ending? Yeah.
Just give me part 2 already, man. It's like, surprise, after the post-credits, there's part 2. But it's actually funny.
The post-credit scene is the rest of the movie. That's great.
Because, actually, this is kind of funny, because in the first movie, at the very end of the movie, we actually see a part of part 2, a part of Across the Spider-Verse. Like, it's him lying on his bed, and then there's like weird things floating around him, and it's Gwen saying, Miles, Miles.
And they awkwardly weave it into the new story that they've come up with after creating the post-credit scene. Do you see how they have to like recreate the context? They're like, oh, he's really mad in the scene, but he was smiling in the post-credit scene.
Yes.
So puts on his
true,
headphones and he's like chilling out. Yeah. So
that is
I didn't have a problem with it. It's like,
that's one of my weird scenes where characters
that's a specific
don't act.
Reason though. Yeah.
No, but like even beyond that, like the way that Gwen and Miles act to being reunited, considering how much it's established that like these characters like care about each other, is so bizarre. Like I understand. Don't get me wrong. I don't expect them to be like, oh my god, it's so happy to see you. I don't expect them to like tearfully hug, or I don't expect it to be like a super elevated reaction. I don't think that's good. But it's really weird that like
Miles is kind of subdued.
Instead of it feeling like it's a big deal and they're trying to make it seem like it's not a big deal because they don't want to reveal their hand, it just feels like it's not a big deal. Like whereas I think it has to feel like the first one, and that's an example of a scene where it's like, this is bizarre. And I think it also comes from just the scene tightness thing we were talking about, where like scenes don't have to be tightly wound in this movie because of how it's spread out. And I think if that were the case, then there would be less examples of this in the movie.
Well, I actually thought it was fine given the context, because like Miles is going through something himself, you know, like having trouble balancing Spider-Man and his personal life, and Gwen is also going through something herself, and the fact that she has to hide the fact that, hey, like, you know, there's like, I really like this person, but I know like what is in store for them in the future because of, you know, the canon events, because of he himself not being canon and shit like that.
But does that feel present in that scene? That doesn't feel present to me.
Well,
I think it makes sense. It makes sense for Gwen to be subdued because she has a different. She's not there for Miles, and she knows shit about him that is really fucked up.
Yeah,
so she
and like,
can have
really
a kind of
that.
I think also that like, I think it's just weird that Miles doesn't show that much excitement to seeing her, despite, and I mean both of them have this where in their kind of like intro monologues they're obsessed with the other person. Like she's seeing him in reflections, like subway reflections, and he's drawing her obsessively. So he's just kind of like, oh, Gwen, you're here, like that.
Yeah.
And no, I feel like he's
I think
just
she
shock,
makes sense. Her energy makes sense.
I think he's just
do you know,
bro.
No, but it doesn't. It feels like he just doesn't. You know what it reminded me of? The scene in Dungeons and Dragons when Chris Pine sees his daughter again. Where I was like, shouldn't you guys care more about what's happening here? Like,
that is weird.
Well,
I'm gonna get the show in the
just
road.
Quickly,
okay.
Just very quickly.
Quickly, it better be.
Yeah. I think that sets up like a really lovely scene of them hanging upside down, and like the whole, like a lot of moments in this movie, like being upside down, giving the audience a unique perspective, so cool. But like that moment where it's like in every Gwen says in every other universe, Gwen falls for Spider-Man. And then we see like Miles scooching closer, and then she said, and it doesn't end well, and then Miles pulls his hand back. Like, oh my god, that scene was so beautiful. And then Miles said, well, it's the first time for everything, and then Gwen leaves on Spider-Man. Oh man.
And ties into the theme.
Money. I love that.
She had a poor choice of words though, that she falls for Spider-Man.
Oh
I also thought that like with the whole canon.
That's so funny.
With the whole canon thing, like I was weird. I thought that there was also going to be a bit about like how a Gwen always has to die. I think they're being flexible with the names. Like it doesn't have to be Gwen Stacy has to die, because then you encounter problems like Spider-Gwen. How is she fitting into canon? So, anyways, but I thought that was gonna come up, maybe that like your first love interest has to die, and so maybe that's kind of like another added layer for why there's kind of like that self-preservation of not, pursuing that romantically. Anyways, I want to talk about these side characters. I like that the two new ones are so great. I think these two are better than the side characters, like head and shoulders above from the first movie. Piviter and Hobby Brown. Piviter, I like that he's like the perfect Spider-Man, and he's just living his best life, and everything is going so well compared to Miles, who is like down in the dumps. And the moment where they've successfully, saved people from the falling Alchemex building, which genuinely, like I was like, oh shit, that seems really difficult and like a really scary thing to deal with. This like massive building falling, I was like, people are gonna fucking die. So I was surprised they saved everyone. But when everyone cheers and Miles is like, oh, this is what being a hero feels like, people cheering for you. Whereas most of the time, people hate Spider-Man. It's actually really weird that everyone loves Piviter, because a lot of the time, Peter Parker, too, feels just all the hate coming at him. So I thought that was really cool. I'll pause here before I move on to the other guy.
Yeah, I love him. Like, his intro, like, you know how, like, every Spider-Man has an intro monologue? It's like, I am... this
I'm
Spider-Man.
gonna do this
I'm gonna do this one only Spider-Man for 6 months. And his monologue is just so relatable. I don't work out because I'm naturally buff. And it's like, and it's like, I try a little bit in school. I get good grades and shit like that. It's just so funny. And I found out today that he's actually played by the taxi driver from Deadpool. That's amazing. Yeah. Good for him. Yeah.
Peter, are you secretly Peter Parker living his best life? Because you just said that it's so relatable to be the perfect guy.
No, like I just thought, like you said, it was relatable. It's like, relatable in a funny way, man. It's like you're buff already, so you don't work out. You're like this shit like
you
that.
You say that? Okay, whatever.
I wish, man. I wish.
The other character they introduce is Hobby Brown, aka Spider-Punk. Maybe one of my favorite new not original characters. One of my favorite new characters I've seen in a long time. Just this guy who doesn't give a fuck and is like anarchy in every way possible. He's like tearing shit off the walls, being like, that's what they want you to think. Just like his chaotic energy and the fact that like he like completely works for Miles' story. He's feeding into like what are not. I would call him like the devil on Miles' shoulder. That is like feeding the worst parts of him, but it's the words worst I think are not accurate. It's more the more chaotic side of Miles that says fuck expectations. It's not the worst side of him. It might even be his better self, his more unique self, is that's what he's feeding into. And I just found that so fascinating. Like the stuff where he's like and Miles was initially jealous of him, and then he's like telling him how to do the spider powers better. He's like, use your palms, buddy. And then like the fuck you I quit moment. Man, I just love this guy. I love him so much.
Yeah, and
I agree. He was great.
He's really great foil to Miles, because like he is sort of helping Miles to unleash himself in a sense. I feel like. Yeah. And also he's this really cool guy, man. Some of the funniest moments in the movie where it's like just like Oscar Isaac, Miguel O'Hara says something really serious, and then a random ass character, sometimes Kobe, says something really funny. And it's like just completely kills the tone of the serious atmosphere Miguel O'Hara is trying to create.
What did you call him? Kobe? What did you call? You called him Kobe.
Is that not his name?
No, it's Hope. Is it Hobie or Hobby?
Oh shit! I thought it starts with a K.
It's with an H.
My bad.
Nope.
My bad.
They spell it out at one point in the movie with the writing, but you might have missed it.
Okay.
I think it's interesting that like all of these different influences, and they mean different things for Miles. That's great. Let's talk a little bit about Miguel. I like that he's kind of a bit of a combination of like the worst of Peter B. Parker as like here's like the bad mentor who lost stuff, and also like he shares some stuff with Miles as well. So there's kind of like the superficial things like they both speak Spanish. They're both Spider-Man who are not Peter Parker, who seems to be like the more common person who is Spider-Man, like maybe 50% or more. But also like the fact that he tried to change the canon, and he seems to be like a harder version of Miles, like a potential future, a darker future where, you know, if Miles goes down this path of changing canon, this is what could happen. And so I think as a villain, like he works pretty well, and it's almost like Thanos-like in his convictions to stick to order as opposed to chaos.
Yeah, no, I agree. I don't have too much to say to him other than I agree with you there.
And also, oh my god, Oscar Isaac, I love this man. Like
he did a great. I thought he did a great job. I really
oh my god, man! Like all his dialogues is just such a treat to hear him talk on screen. It's amazing.
I was confused about the vampire thing. They say he's a vampire.
Yeah.
I don't know if that means literally vampire, because he does. There's two scenes that suggest
he showed
something.
his teeth, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, he shows his.
And then
He shows
the
his
other one
fangs.
is like him injecting something to his body.
So there's something there, but they just kind of drop it after a while.
There was a funny subtle dig at Morbius that I thought was funny.
Really?
But there's something, I forgot what the line is exactly, but it's when they're talking about that and they say something about like, yeah, like who would go pay to see a movie about like a good vampire or whatever.
Really?
It's something like that. It's like it's set up in such a way that I was like, I'm pretty sure they're talking about Morbius. Which is
okay. I didn't put two and two together.
I know there's an obvious dig at No Way Home. It's like, and don't get me started on Doctor Strange and the stupid nerd on.
That's not a dig at the movie, though.
That's a dumb reference. That's a throwaway, being like we want to connect to all of the universes.
The way Oscar delivered that line, holy shit, my man, that was so good.
Sure.
Okay, did not resonate with you guys.
Not even a little bit.
No, dude.
Don't remember.
But like, I really thought the first time that Oscar's character was gonna be like dealing with some kind of like the vampire addiction kind of like classic thing. Like he has that hunger within him, and he has to like sustain himself with like maybe the injections. Who knows? Maybe. That could be brought up in the next movie, but we wouldn't know.
Dude, you're the comic guy. You tell me. What is
I
this?
did look it up. I had to remind myself, but he's not a vampire. I didn't think he was.
He's not a vampire.
The person who's a vampire that you wouldn't think is a vampire is Falcon's Falcon. Like, you know, Falcon,
No
Captain America's
way.
sidekick? He has a real bird in the comics named Redwing, and
really?
the bird is a vampire.
That's so
weird shit that I know. Anyways,
Yeah.
Miguel O'Hara is not a radioactive spider person. He is a GMO. He's been spliced. His DNA has been spliced with the spider. So
By
that's why
alchemists, right?
Yeah, so that's why he has talons instead of...
Right.
I didn't remember this. I had to look this up. But that's why he has talons. That's why he has fangs. But yeah, it's weird that they kind of like tease it as a thing and then don't do anything with it and don't even set it up. Like if I would understand if you were subtle at the beginning and then we're like, but wait, in the next movie he might go crazy. You know, like...
I don't think they're
didn't do
setting
that,
up him as a...
It might be nothing.
I feel like he's just like
What?
set up as an anti-hero type shit.
Yeah, like when I
don't
say
think he's a
I
villain,
use
though.
I use villain interchangeably with antagonist. Like that's kind of what I mean is that he is opposing the protagonist. He is. You could say that he's a hero, but there's a lot of like very villainy stuff he's doing. So even that, I'm like, I don't know, anti-hero. What else can we talk about? We kind of talked about animation enough. Oh, I like that it's like this is a really comic booky movie. Like they split it up into panels, and they do that in the first movie, but I think they take that to new extremes here, and like just finding really inventive ways to play with the format. And Like I like when like the same action is in both panels but at different focal lengths, or maybe it's this like it's the same action in the same different focal length. Like that sort of stuff is really cool to me. How did you guys think this movie compares to the first one? Better, worse?
Worse.
I think it's better, to be honest.
To me, the first one's.
I'll hear your...
In my opinion, the first one is clearly better. I think it's a more tightly wound story. I think it's better written.
It's simpler.
I just.
Which is it really helps. I think. It's concise.
Yeah, I think that this movie is also like. Yeah, I think that it's dense in some ways and that a lot of stuff is literally happening, but in terms of like actual material, I don't think it is very dense. Whereas I actually think there's a lot you can be pulling from each thing in the first one. I
also think like the whole leap of faith stuff and the moment where Peter B. Parker's like about to fall into the collider at the end of the first movie and Miles catches him and he's like, but wait, like I was gonna sacrifice myself, and he's like, I think Peter B says, how do I know if I can do it? And he's like, oh, right. It's like I taught you. It's a leap of faith. And they kind of smile at each other, and then he drops him into the collider. Yeah. Like that's a perfect moment that like brought tears to my eyes when I rewatched it. This movie doesn't have that kind of like really sweet moment, and I don't think it was built to have that, but it's a fair point. Peter, I'll hear your arguments. Why is this movie better?
I just really like the way this movie does not let go of the tension. Like, the plot, like, I kept thinking, like, surely this is it. Like, they're not going to add more into this. But, like, they just, the tension in the plot just keeps rising throughout the film. And it's a really unique feeling where like the movie gives you no break and you like it, and like I think emotionally like Gwen's story is significantly stronger than the first one. I mean, for good reasons. She's more screen time. I guess like the story between Miles and his dad is slightly weaker because like the first one, there's a pretty touching monologue of his dad at his dorm room, just sort of talking to him and while he's tied to the chair. And we didn't really have like a "what's up danger" moment where he like the reverse shot of him like leaping down. Like that moment was sick. That moment did not get surpassed in this movie. But like I think like in general like the overall cast is significantly stronger compared to the first one. And there are just a lot of like I think like in the first movie they were sort of holding back in a lot of visual and like sound stuff I think is on par, but like visual stuff I think this one did a much better job compared to the first one. Like they almost got liberated. They got to do whatever the fuck they want, and like the watercoloring stuff like we mentioned in Gwen's world, the different comic panels and shit like that. I think like to be honest, like viewing experience wise, I enjoyed this one more than the first.
Fair.
Interesting. Yeah, I think this one makes some improvements in some cases. Like I think, like I said, the side characters have more depth to them and more meaning than just like what are the three most random characters we can think of. like specifically referring to Noir, Spider-Ham, and Penny Parker. Like I think.
Well, Noir is like a natural one. Like that's Noir. If you think of like alternate Spider-Mans that people might know, Noir is one of the first ones.
Oh no, for sure. Like that's true. Like the Spider-Man Noir is a pretty like, dare I say, famous one of the alternate versions. I just mean like thematically. Like there's nothing that Spider-Man Noir has to teach Miles by nature of like who he is, and same with the other two. Right. Whereas the side characters in this one are very thoughtfully picked out. And yeah, I do agree that the visuals, I think they played around with it more, and I think that's honestly just like one-upping themselves, you know? Like they set a standard and they're going to blow it away with the second one. I think that's kind of, I don't know if they had more room to play. I think they actively pursued innovation, you know?
I almost might prefer a lot of the stuff they did in the first one visually. Like I know they're doing more here and that it's a little bit more, But I even think like the stuff in the forest in the first one, and like little things
Oh,
about.
it's gorgeous.
And I'm sure there are details like this too. But it's like, and little things like how Miles is actually like swinging at a different frame rate than Peter is. I remember reading that like Miles, like, because he isn't used to being Spider-Man, he's actually like swinging at a lower frame rate, like at a choppier frame rate, whereas Peter looks more like smooth and he's going. And like to me, like it's like there's a maybe a little bit more subtlety, like subtle touches in the first one. I don't know if that's completely a fair thing to say. I don't know. I'd probably have to watch both movies again to even really say that. But like, yeah, I do really like the visuals of the first one, even though they're a little bit less in your face.
Yeah. I have a new question. Where do you think this movie is going? That doesn't make sense. What do you think the next one? What do you expect? What are some things that you think are gonna happen? I have some, but I'd like to hear from you guys.
Well, I talked about the thing. I think ultimately Miles is going to be able to write his own destiny in some ways while not controlling other aspects. Like I think that's the idea. I do think that there's going to have to be like they're going to have to contend with the idea. Yeah, maybe. And I think they're going to have to contend with the idea that like all of these Spider-Mans kind of lost their way and forgot the core element of like what being Spider-Man is. So that's something that has to be dealt with, I think. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know. What do you think?
Peter, do you have any before I jump in?
I think Jessica Drew is gonna join Gwen's little team based on her facial expression at the end. I'm very interested to see how the 2 Miles storyline play out, because like the obvious answer is like you convert the evil Miles to join you on your mission, but it's like I almost don't want to see that play out because that's just too easy. I actually want to see them have like a real conflict going on, and I don't think the dad's gonna die. I think like they spend too much effort on like saying that he like Aidan said, like he's supposed to write his own destiny, and like the fact that a spider from the wrong universe bit him is already sort of creating an anomaly, and nothing happened to his universe. So like he has the capacity to change who Spider-Man is and able to do things that other Spider-Man can't. I don't think the dad's gonna die, and I think probably the final showdown is gonna be a bunch of Spider people against Spot probably.
Okay, so. I have some theories for you boys. Yeah. So I agree that I don't think the dad is gonna die. So then it begs the question: if he's not gonna die, who is gonna die?
Dude, don't kill the new dad though. Don't kill Peter B.
No.
Man.
Here's my guess. No, because you can't kill him because he's a new dad. Spider-Man 2099. He's lost his way. How does he come back to the light? By saving the person he said had to die. I think he becomes converted and saves and turns around. That's
Dude,
one
10 out of 10. Yeah. I support that.
Sure.
Because if you think of the other cast, like there's no one who can die based on like just emotional attachment. Like you can't kill your super close darlings, but I think on Earth 42, I think Miles is going to look for a Peter Parker, the one who probably should have been bit there. And there's going to be this thing of like, it was supposed to be you, and maybe he tries to get him involved in some capacity. I think, I think the idea, like it was supposed to be you, and then just learning that, no, you weren't a mistake, like you were the right choice, is something he's going to learn from Peter Parker of Earth 42, who is probably just a normie. And I think seeing that kind of like a regular Peter Parker would be a really interesting thing for the Spider-Verse idea. Peter, what are you going to say?
Okay, I think that's a really neat idea, and I fully support that, but I'm sorry, I have to break it to you. There's a scene in this movie, I think it's like in the Spot-verse or some shit, where like there's like a little bit past and a little bit present, and there's a scene of a guy with braids and a spider approaching him, and then the spider has a number 42 on it, and then eventually the spider bit Miles. I think they were trying to set up that the other universe's Miles Morales wasn't supposed to be Prowler, he was supposed to be Spider-Man. but
Okay,
that can totally
maybe.
be changed. I really like your idea though. Like I think that's.
I still think that the idea that Peter Parker is quote unquote always Spider-Man is something they can challenge, and I think it would be interesting to challenge. So
Yeah,
maybe
it would actually be interesting if the regular Peter Parker there was still like a hero in his own right, like without being Spider-Man. That might be an interesting idea.
I was thinking that they
That'd
could
be
take the thing further and be like, anyone can be Spider-Man, and then being like, even this loser Peter Parker can be Spider-Man, even if he doesn't have the powers. They could
and I think
stray away too
really...
far from Miles, so it might be better to center it on bad Miles, on Prowler Miles, and make him the new Spider-Man. But we'll see.
I think like the first movie set it up actually. Like if you listen to the final monologue by Miles at the end of the first movie, it's like anyone can wear the mask. You can wear the mask. You know, it's like this really like Spider-Man is not really about the powers. It's about like who you are as a person. It's what
do you think they do I have an idea. Do you think they do a swap, like a Parent Trap, where they switch places?
Okay, no.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure 90% of these are getting in the movie. They do a Parent Trap. Anyone can wear the mask. Just switch them out. Switch out the Mileses. Because one has powers, one doesn't. So that's
right.
the thing. I think one question I have is, did the implication of Captain Stacy quitting is that canon
He's
can
safe.
be broken and that he's safe? I question that. Maybe it's fine. I
think he's safe though.
I have two other ones. I wonder if we're gonna see Madam Web, who is the person who does the kind of canon web thing, but in a more organic way, and is kind of like the Oracle, and she's like the protector of the actual Spider-Verse. I feel like we're gonna see her as an escalation of like going deeper and deeper, where we go beyond the Spider-Verse. Well, what's beyond? The plane above, I think, and seeing Madam Web, who controls all things. And I think that he's gonna like make a bargain or like argue with her that kind of allows this kind of non-canon thing, or maybe she is like, no, it's all cool, buddy. Like it doesn't. I don't know what this guy's talking about. I feel like he has to go around somehow and deal with her. There's one other thing I don't remember though. Something about Madam Web. I know that aren't they making a Madam Web movie or something?
Yes, they are. With Sydney Sweeney and
that'll be complicated.
Dakota Johnson, right?
Dakota Johnson.
Yeah.
Is that how we soft launch Dakota Johnson Spider-Woman? Is have her in this? God, I hate that.
Wait, I thought she was Madam Web.
She is Madam Web.
Yeah.
She is Dakota Johnson is Madam Web. Yeah.
The thing is, Madam Web is different. Like it's a title, so it was originally like an old blind woman, and so whoever you just said, Dakota Johnson is the second one or something. So and it's kind of a variation on the Spider-Woman title, but I had something else about the thing about him making a bargain, but honestly, she might just be like, just saying like, it's fine. Anyways, last thing, Miles is gonna give a killer speech to the Spot, and it's gonna rock. That's my last prediction. He's gonna speech the fuck out of Spot, and that's how he defeats him. I don't know what the speech is, but it'll be great.
And also, can I just say they really did a great job casting. Like Jason Schwartzman is like exactly the type of person you want to play Spot.
He's good. I don't have that strong feelings about that, but I think he's solid. Do you have any other final thoughts about the movie?
Yes, I want to talk about music real quick.
Okay, go quick.
Oh yeah.
First of all, really killer album. I think Metro Boomin producing is sick, amazing album. And second, I just want to say they did they actually pay so much attention to the detail, which I think is why these movies are so cool. Each Spider-Man, at least like the major ones, have their own theme, and basically when you look at the Vulture fight, because the Vulture is from like an ancient Renaissance era, when like the fight is going on, you can hear opera music going off in the background.
Yes, I heard that this time. It's really cool.
When it's Gwen, it's a lot more rock and roll because she's in a band. And then when it's Miguel O'Hara, you hear this sort of futuristic, distorted sounds when he's coming out. And then Miles is sort of this like hip-hoppy mix with his own theme. So I think that's just really cool, the amount of detail they put into the music. And they're able to mix all these sounds together and make the soundtrack work. I thought it was really cool.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on it as much as when they were trying to push Sunflower really hard in the first one, but I'm glad that it was definitely more subtle in this one. I think that means we have a segment.
Oh, we sure do. So if you're not aware, the podcast is called Predator versus Movies, and we've done the movie part, so now it's time to get into the Predator. And so this is where we ask the question, would the Predator from the movie Predator make this movie better were he in it? No.
3, 2, okay, yeah,
Dude,
no.
imagine Spider Society and someone wearing a Predator costume.
There's an alternate universe where Predator is Spider-Man.
Spider-Predator. Easy fix.
Yeah.
Okay,
Easy.
next. Peter, what's our next segment? That was quick.
Oh, it's called Predator's Picks. What did you guys watch this past week? I personally didn't watch anything.
I watched one thing. Most of it today, actually. Just
how much did you get through?
My son was. I've seen the whole thing now because it's actually
really?
not that much.
Wait, is this still The Wire?
No, it's not. No.
No, I haven't seen The Wire in a while. No, I'm still on season. I'm on season.
Tell him what it. Tell him what it is. Tell him.
It's I Think You Should Leave, the new season of I Think You Should Leave, Kim Robinson's comedy sketch show. Very funny, very very funny. There is some like
I don't know why when you said that. Like somehow I was thinking Decision to Leave. I was like, since when they were making a TV show?
I always get it mixed up with Sorry to Bother You, the movie with.
Really?
What?
Yeah. With Lucky Sanford.
I don't know why. No.
Yeah.
Anyways.
No, but yeah, it's super funny. There's particularly one sketch that I won't spoil, but it's about like there's the one with Jason Schwartzman is super funny. That's really good. Fucking hilarious.
And how like also, sad it gets too.
Yeah,
or
and
like
the
real.
Twist on
it's
it.
good.
Yeah, it's funny too. And then also I think it might be in the same episode, but the one where it's a dad at his daughter's wedding. Like that one's funny as fuck.
I don't know if I've seen that one. No.
When he takes, I don't want to spoil it.
Okay, don't spoil it in case I haven't seen it.
Yeah, it's a just goofy funny show. Very very funny. Yeah, I don't have much to say about it other than that.
Yeah, I think one of my favorites so far was the one in the drive-thru. 55 taters, 55 pizzas.
When he like immediately goes.
We're not describing it. Go watch
when
it.
the woman backs up and does the same thing.
Yes. 55 taters, 55, and she's doing the same thing. 55 is also just a perfect number. I don't know how they came up with that. It's so good. Oh, when the one where they're counting and he's seeing things. He's like, oh, I thought there was a volcano. But it's the moment where she sees his world and there's a little pimp on the table. That was great. That was great payoff. Yeah. I don't know if you picked up on this. I thought the sketches this season kind of get crazier. Like, I feel like they always introduce a new third thing at the end as kind of like as a weird final twist before concluding. I don't know if they used to do that. Is that just my false memory?
It's generally been the case that like the sketches tend to spiral into something else, and it's like the thing you think it's about in the beginning, it suddenly isn't. But I did feel that even more so this season. Yeah.
It definitely like there's always a third thing, and I'm like they introduce the third thing and then it ends so quickly, but I don't know. I still really love it. The driving crooner.
Did you see the one? Have you seen the one where it's the woman who has the cardboard cutout of her boss? I forget the actor's name.
With Patty Harrison.
Yeah, she's super funny.
And then it becomes about rats. Like that's what I mean. Is like they don't stick with the initial premise anymore. They add a new weird thing. It's fun. It's just different to get used to. I haven't finished it yet, but I love it so much. I've seen some other stuff to finish up my Predators picks because you're done.
Yeah.
Right. Succession and Barry both ended. Succession will go down in history as one of the best TV series of all time, maybe top 10. Great finale, I think. Great final season. Some people said it was rushed, but I honestly think that what they managed to get through was good, and I liked the pace of it. And I don't think I'd change anything. I think that the ending is unsatisfying in a way that is more compelling than if anyone's goal had happened, and also like still very funny. There's some very funny stuff in the final season or final episode. It's a great show. Barry, I've kind of turned around on. I've seen some negative takes on Twitter, and I feel like I've always been like, Barry's great, and seeing people kind of like criticize how the final season went, I've been like, maybe they're right, and like kind of opened up that as a possibility. And I do find that the final season was not as satisfying as, say, season 3, which I think may have been the peak of the show. It doesn't seem to be quite as strongly written, and so I didn't love where Barry ended off quite as much as Succession. But oh well, great first 3 seasons for sure. And I think, I mean, it's like a satisfying end nonetheless, and I think there's good stuff for sure in the final season of Barry. But in terms of movies, I've seen 2 movies. I watched The Doom Generation. It was the Trash Cult film pick for our local Cinematheque. Weird movie. Sometimes felt like it was actually really insightful, and other times felt it was really fucking dumb. There's a running gag where every time they go to a gas station, they order a bunch of stuff, and the price is always $6.66, because that's the devil's number. Do you get it?
Oh, yeah. It is.
I was like, okay, sure. It's $6.60. It's a movie from the 90s, so it's depicting like a generation that we don't have an understanding of, so that might be part of it. But and then I also rewatched Mad Max Fury Road. I was doing a rewatch of the franchise, or of a first watch for 3/4 of it, and I came back to this one, which I have seen before. This is another movie that people call a masterpiece, so it's funny that I'm bringing it up in this episode. People call Fury Road a masterpiece. It is not that good. It is a solid action movie. Would not call it a masterpiece. I think it's good, but like it's weird. I don't like personally the orange teal look that was kind of prevalent in the time. That was a 2015 movie, so maybe a bit later than, like, I don't know, Transformers is one that comes to mind for that look.
Like the Bay Area.
Yeah. But some other things that George Miller does, like just like the maximalism, I called it Mad Maximalism. He does some like weird variable frame rate stuff. The flashbacks to like Max's tortured past look terrible and are also quite corny, where it's just like Mad Max has this sad past of like his kid was killed, and they keep cutting back to like this kid being like, Max, save me, baby! Like scary ghost child. And yeah, it's written like an action movie. Like there's a point where they're openly just talking about what their objectives are, and Mad Max is like, "Oh, what do you want out of all this, Furiosa?" And Furiosa says, looking out the window, "Redemption." And that's it. I'm like okay, you just want, okay, sure. So not a lot of nuance there, but it's got a lot of driving and cool car shit. And I mean, what more could you ask for, I guess? So
yeah, I thought it was mostly praised for its unique visual style, and
for that, like, it has in spades. Like, it's the guitarist guy strapped to the top of the car. That's cool as shit. And like with the flames, that's awesome. I won't deny that. The car stuff has never been better, I think, in this movie.
Nice.
But I think in terms of nuance, it's also like one of those movies that seems to be kind of feminist, but also there's a lot of things that you're like, I don't think this is feminist. Like how the whole point is that Furiosa is trying to save the brides of, or like the baby makers for the bad guy. What's his name? Immortan Joe. They're trying to steal like the women away, but like the women are scantily clad the whole movie, and also like they get like one of the first time we meet them, they are also like wet. They've been using a hose, and it's like a really cliche kind of like, I'm thinking of like the 90s of like wet t-shirt kind of like scenes where like women frolicking, like that's kind of what it reminds me of. And I'm like, I don't think that's a fully feminist idea. Anyways, that's all I've seen. Next week, we don't know what we're going to do. It's also going to be tough for us. We'll see. But some options include Past Lives, Master Gardener, Sanctuary, Blackberry, and The Little Mermaid. We'll see. If you like us, check us out on Instagram at Predator V Movies. We're also on Twitter. I'm losing my mind. I don't know if I said that already. If you like my thoughts on movies, check me out on Letterboxd at _AlexGordon_. I leave reviews. Aidan.
You can also check me out on Letterboxd. It's 810 Sunny. That's 810 SONNY. My name is Wombo. I also leave reviews sometimes.
Peter, do you have anything to plug?
No plugs. What a surprise.
You know what that means.
You know what that means.
I stole the words out of your mouth, Aidan. That means leave a review. I forgot what I meant. Leave a review, please. Star rating, thumbs up. Tell us what you think. Maybe we'll read it out. Yeah.
I think
how
we
the
got
algorithm
a new
knows.
review on Spotify.
What did we?
Right.
I should check that out.
Yeah. I think originally we were sitting at like 10 ratings. Now we're at 11.
Oh, that's what you mean. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
You just mean star rating.
Cool.
Okay. I was looking at. I was thinking comments. Okay. Thank you for the star rating, whoever you are, kind person.
Awesome.
Anyways, until this episode has made me sleep deprived. I've become Aidan. This is just a long one. Until next time, I'm Alex.
I'm Peter.
I'm Aidan.
And this was Predator vs. Movies. See you next week.
Pew, 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 pew.